You have a great slide in one of your investor presentations about how now it's real world infrastructure that's kind of the key barrier to entry in the Bitcoin mining space. And there's kind of this natural lag between the price of Bitcoin and like hash rate and mining difficulty. Can you expand on this idea that you guys talk about a lot?
And this was actually central to Will and I deciding to set up this business. And, you know, 4.5 years ago, we termed it the hash rate lag effect. And it refers to the fact that every Bitcoin cycle, it is getting longer and harder for the hash rate to keep pace with the Bitcoin price. And if you go back a decade when people are mining on their computers and laptops, Bitcoin goes on a run. People can just switch on more laptops and computers, go down to your local store, plug them in your parents' basement, hash rate goes up, and mining profitability normalizes. But every cycle, it got longer and longer for that hash rate to keep pace with the price. And that was down to the absolute amount of real-world infrastructure. The real world has limits. You can't scale exponentially indefinitely in the real world. In the digital world, you can. We've seen it everywhere. The whole world's going online. The whole world's being digitized. We understand the exponential function in cyberspace. But when it comes to the real world, there are real limits. You know, there are limits around how many megawatts are available. There are limits around capital formation. There are limits around how quickly you can actually connect into a power network. In some jurisdictions, it can take 3 to 5 years from concept to actually getting that power. Back in the last bull run, which was the back end of 2017, 2018, when Bitcoin ran up to $19,000, $20,000, if you look at that cycle, it wasn't until September of 2018, so 9 months after the end of the bull market, that the hash rate caught the price and normalized mining profitability. And that was after the price fell 70%. So you kind of extrapolate that going forward. And another way to think about it is, anecdotally, there's kind of 8 gigawatts, give or take, of power dedicated to Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin, and unfortunately this requires people to take a view on Bitcoin, it's the nature of the sector, but if you look at Bitcoin, in my view, it's not a $17,000 asset. Like gold parity alone, and as gold 2.0, it's clearly better than being gold. At gold parity, it's $600,000 a coin. So if Bitcoin hangs around, it's not staying at $17,000. If Bitcoin goes back to even to $60,000, that's call it a 4x increase, to 4x the current power consumption of 8 gigawatts is another 24 gigawatts of power. Now, for a lot of people listening to this, that might sound abstract. What does that actually mean? Well, one reference point, the entire global data center industry is only 23. So you can't just click your fingers, come up with all that power, all that infrastructure. And what the end result is incumbent miners earn these super profits when Bitcoin rallies. Because if you've got that hash rate is so hard to get, so hard to bring online, then you're a beneficiary of that, because as the price goes up, it's really hard for other people to enter and cannibalize that Bitcoin reward.
Yeah, I think that was very well said. At Blockware, we definitely have a similar thesis on the profits for incumbent miners. When there is another bull cycle, will continue to be massive, and the lag between deploying more hash rate is going to be longer. And yeah, it's interesting to think about how, hey, even if somehow Bitcoin becomes gold 2.0 and it's actually a $600,000 asset, that's a lot of power that's going to need to come online, even if it's sometime after the next halving. That's still a ton of new Bitcoin that are being mined, and someone's going to be mining them. So I think you made some fantastic points there.